you are circulating all around the world for the film festivals. You are a selector, you are a curator, you are on the jury committees, your films are in the competition. And when do you have time to work on your films? Because you have a lot of projects and you have a lot of films also. So when you find this time for that?
Oh, it's very easy. It's just like when I jump on a film, I don't go anywhere until I finish it. So it's just like I guess that my coordination and the timing is like very. My schedule is very precise. So I know when I'm gonna start making a film and when I'm gonna travel, and I guess it's just a question of organizing yourself. It's not so difficult, actually. Well, recently, in the last 2 years, it was not easy. But actually, I got a lot of inspirations from my traveling. I don't believe that the animators have to stay in their studio and work as crazy, like for a couple of years. I believe that the animators should be more social, and I don't see the animators as sardines in their can. They have to be out and promoting not only themselves but the art of animation. And as for my films, I get my inspiration from the different aspects of the life, and every travel brings me something new, some more ideas.
Can we go back in time and go back to the beginnings of your artistic career? Can you tell us a bit more about your Bulgarian education, about the academy, and the Bulgarian influences in your work, and also if you could shortly describe the film that you said earlier is lost now, your student film.
Yeah, I was first. I was in Bulgaria. There is a system. It still exists of secondary school, art school, and I was accepted in one of those schools, and it was for stage design, makeup, and it was very nice school actually. And there we had a class of animation, and even at that time I did like a short film. Which was screened at some festivals, and it won some prizes in Belgium, for example, for student films. And I absolutely forgot about that film, because after that I decided that no, animation is not for me. I didn't want to become an animator. And recently I just remembered about that film and tried to find it, but it seems that it's lost because the studio where this film was produced is closed. The producer, the executive producer of the studio died, and I think it's lost forever. And after that, I just decided that I want to become a graphic designer, and started studying poster and graphic design at the Academy of Fine Art. It was not very good experience because I didn't like the atmosphere, the ambience. I didn't find that I learned anything there. I think that it was pretty much regressive and very conservative. And basically I was studying myself, like I was self-educated. The best place there was the library, when I was going and watching the foreign magazines and designs, reviews and things like that. After that I started a career in design, and it was not until 1999 when I went to Canada and started working in multimedia. And at that time I just discovered a little program which was called Flash, and started doing some animation for web and for my company, and also for my pleasure. I decided, okay, that's a great tool. We have the internet, we can post our films, no need for money, no need for producers. And I did like a couple of films, like 8 or 9 films in my spare time. And that's how I, without even knowing, found myself again in the animation. And it was NFB, National Film Board of Canada, who gave me their hands, and actually they taught me to become a filmmaker, because I didn't know a lot about the animation. Well, I had some information. I saw some of the old Bulgarian animation films from my school years. But basically, I was out of that field. I didn't know anything about animation for like maybe 15 years, and now started like discovering the things. And also the other chance was when I moved to Montreal. I was just nearby, a videothèque, which was like a very special videothèque. They had a lot of strange experimental films there, and I went there, and I was like very hungry to watch everything there. I even didn't hear anything about those Polish masters, even that I live in Bulgaria. I never heard about, for example, Jan Lenic. I knew Jan Lenic as a poster artist, and I met him. And he taught me, he gave me a master class on poster. And I never heard that he did animation films, which is like, wow. I was so surprised when I saw his films, and I saw them like in 2002 or something like that. And also I discovered the film of Borovchik, of course all the usual suspects, Brothers Kwai at that time, and Schwenkmeyer, and all the films from the East Bloc before 90s. And yeah, that's how I started. I got intrigued and saw some of the experimental American filmmakers like Maya Deren and Stan Brakhage, and that's how I started. Luckily, I don't have to deal with the censorship because I know what the censorship was, because my father was an artist and he dealt with the censorship all his life. And I remember, but somehow at that time I kind of developed some kind of metaphorical language, which was very characteristic for the East Bloc at the time, you know, and that's why they used animation as a tool of expression, because they were able to develop this metaphorical language to deal with the symbol and not to say the things. And I find it very interesting as an artistic tool to use the metaphor, not to say the things directly. As for the topic that I would like to outline of my films, it's the conflict between the individual and the collectivism, the individual and the system, like in the Machiavellian way of thinking. And also, I really find the most interesting topic is how the human being is put into the riot, into the fight with the construction of the society. So that's the topic that I'm really very interested as well, which brings again the idea about the social role of the animator. But you know, I don't consider myself animator. I consider myself like more like a visual artist who just choose to make animations, because I find the film language the most exquisite, the richest. You can make much more impact and impression over the senses using all the cinematographical tools like editing, vision, sound, timing, pacing, and so on and so on.
I would like to ask you about, because you said it yourself that your films are somehow political in a way, but on the other hand they are quite experimental, quite avant-garde, so by definition they are pretty hermetic, right? They won't reach the wide audience. So do you think it's a contradictory, that because you won't make an impact on the society with those films, certainly?
Well, I believe that you don't have to compromise yourself to reach a larger audience. I would like to reach the audience who have the education to read my films. Not all of them. And what I believe is like, I think that even I said this before here in Ljubljana, that avant-garde is when you make the middle class, the people who are not familiar with the avant-garde films, to embrace and to start believing in the ideas that are not their own.
This Frankfurt School, Marcuse, Habermas, Adorno, they actually influenced in the 70s very radical movements in the Western Europe, which were the movements were actually basically communists. On the other hand, your films, you're using aesthetics of propaganda, of Soviet propaganda, right? The constructivism and futurism and also social realism. So don't you think it's kind of contradictory?
It is, but that's why I'm artist and I'm not politician or philosopher. Because when you're artist, it's not necessary that the art makes such a sense, and it's so logical, you know. So that's why I'm artist and not philosopher. It's contradictory, and that's why I like, you know, because they say, okay, your films are very experimental, but at the same time, when I talk with experimental filmmakers, they say, okay, but they're quite easy swallowing. You know, we can see how the general public can catch on them and follow them because they have a fast pacing, they have a rhythm, they have a music that they can follow, they have a very clear message, which is all the experimental filmmakers avoid because they're afraid that they're gonna say to them that they're making narrative. So there is some kind of narration in my films, and this is contradictory as well. And also in all the art that I do, I always try to reach the border of where this art was before. I mean to make it more, to make like a symbiosis between different kind of art, not to stay into animation or the visual arts or video art or something like this. If I can mix everything, it's my goal, which is also going into the field of the philosophy. If I can mix all the philosophy into something like which will become something new, I'll be very happy. Even if it sounds contradictory, yeah, that's my goal.
Okay, so perhaps if you embrace the opposites, you are just richer and fuller.
I guess that my films are quite bipolar, but that's our time, you know. Basically, and that's the idea of the postmodern artist. You know, they believe that the life is a dream and everything is a game, and you're allowed to play with styles, artifacts, history, and meanings as much as you can and as you want. No borders about this, no limitations, no censorship.